In the summer of 2011, 23-year-old Dalene Carlson moved from her small town in Idaho to Stockton, California. Sporty, sociable and adventurous, Dalene enjoyed snowboarding, fishing, camping and long walks with her dog Maddie. Dalene had decided to relocate to Stockton to move in with her aunt and cousin. She was here for one thing and one thing only, to further her career. After years and years of saving up from her various restaurant jobs, she had enrolled at San Joaquin Delta College to major in child development. And with just a few months to go before college started, Dalene was busy putting names to new faces and getting to know the area. Her cousin Cecily was always her tour guide. But on August 6, 2011, Dalene would venture out alone. Cecily had a fever, but Dalene still wanted to go out. She had made some new friends already, and ever the confident person, she was happy to go out by herself to places she was familiar with. One of those places was Finnegan's Bar and Grill, which had fast become a favourite night out for her. The 23-year-old got ready and said her goodbyes. As she shut the door, her Aunt Maggie shouted to her that she needed to be home by 3 a.m. at the absolute latest. Dalene agreed and walked off into the town. But 3 a.m. would soon come and go. Soon it was 3:30, and then 4. Maggie was still awake and texting Dalene to see if everything was okay. Hoping she had slept at a friend's house, Maggie tried to get some rest, but with every hour that ticked by without the sound of the door opening, she was waking up, tossing and turning. The sun soon rose along with everyone else's concern. If Dalene had spent the night at a friend's house, she would have found a way to charge her phone and contact people. Safe to say, sometimes you just know when you know, and something was seriously wrong. Maggie called around her daughter and niece's friends before she decided to call 911 and report Dalene as missing. And with this, just a couple of months after she moved, the 23-year-old had disappeared. Unfortunately, it was too early to file an official report, but police logged it anyway, and her family and friends started looking around the streets for her. But as it went from hot and light to cool and dark, there was no sign of her. The following morning, the police got to work. Dalene had asked Cecily to take a picture of her before she left the house, so Dalene could look at her outfit. Her dark brown hair had been down and she was wearing a black and white vest top, with ripped blue denim jeans. Armed with this, the officers started with Dalene's original plan for the evening. She was supposed to go to Finnegan's Bar and Grill with Cecily. One of the managers at Finnegan's Bar remembered her. Dalene had been there many times before, and he said she had been stood outside most of the night, but nothing had seemed out of the ordinary. Dalene had picked up a ride there with a friend, and once at the bar she bumped into her on-off boyfriend, Jacob Evangelisti. 25-year-old Jacob admitted, "We weren't on the best terms. I purposely got there before she did. She came up to me to talk to me." He said the couple had got into quite a big fight 4 days before. He was drunk and grabbed Dalene's arm as she tried to get away from him. He said he had heard from people that she had been talking to a mutual friend called James Cousins, and safe to say, things between the pair had been far from good. Jacob said they hung out with a few friends that night, but were keeping their distance. That was until Dalene actually broke up with him. He was upset and wanted to work things out, but it seemed she was done. Jacob maintained Dalene had left the bar before him, but he didn't see if anyone was with her. His story did match with employees. However, police said both Jacob and James Cousins were persons of interest. The cameras in the building showed Dalene outside for a while smoking. Before moving back inside at about 10 to 1 in the morning. There were quite a few people around, and at one point a man even put his arm around her for a moment before walking behind her in the corridor. He was 25-year-old Jason Gilley, another mutual friend. He even lived with James Cousins. Dalene then went back outside where she spoke to Jacob. She looked animated and was moving her arms around a lot. This matched what Jacob had said to them about having a heated conversation. She went inside again and Jacob stayed put with a friend finishing his cigarette. 3 a.m. Finnegan's was closed and everyone had gone. Dalene had somehow left without being caught on any camera, as had Jacob, so they didn't know what time she was there until. Jacob told police that Dalene had texted him saying that she was leaving the bar to go to a party at a friend's house. He then had about 12 calls from her after she left the bar. During one of the brief calls, he heard a man's voice in the background. Dalene said she was drinking at Jason's house. Jason was Jason Gilley, who lived with James' cousins. Jason was the man seen putting his arm around Dalene in Finnegan's. In one text early in the morning, Dalene asked Jacob if she could go to his house later, and he had agreed. But hours passed and he didn't hear anything else, falling asleep and waking up to nothing more on his phone. Police next wanted to talk to Jason Gilley and James' cousins. Jason Gilley shared the house with his mom, grandma, and James, who was also staying there too. James was pretty upfront and to the point. Yes, he and Dalene had been chatting, but nothing was official and they weren't in a relationship. He was also quickly able to prove that he was out of Stockton on a trip, something corroborated by multiple people. Jason Gilley also said he couldn't help the police. He said the pair had parted ways at the bar. He had offered her a lift home, but had to leave without her at 1 a.m. because his grandmother had texted him that his young son was sick. But Jacob said Dalene told him she was drinking at Jason Gilley's house. His grandma said Jason had arrived back home himself at about 1:30 a.m. Jason then pointed the detectives back to Jacob and the fight he and Dalene had had. He actually had witnessed the whole thing and said it was pretty bad. So police were really no further forward.
Also new tonight, the search is intensifying for a Stockton woman who mysteriously disappeared after a night out. 23-year-old Dalene Carlson was last seen on August 7th.
At the start of this case, 3 men talked to police and said they had contact with Carlson the night she disappeared.
We just want her home, safe.
Carlson's cousins held a flyer displaying her photos today. The family has been fraught with worry since Carlson disappeared last weekend. She was last seen at Finnegan's Pub and Grill very early last Sunday morning.
You know, I just want my family to, you know, have peace and get my aunt, get her daughter home.
We hope, there's a hope that, you know, we would love to find her safe, but as time progresses, it looks more grim.
For now, investigators plan to be here all afternoon, and we're told that Carlson moved here from Idaho to start a new life. She had plans to attend Delta College and was living with family when she disappeared.
Meanwhile, family and friends were working hard to raise some money, managing to get $1,000 together to add to the Crime Stoppers' already $1,000 reward for information. A local semi-pro football team wanted to host a game and raffle to raise more money, and everyone was out giving out flyers and searching. But things were really not looking good. Friends said having to talk your brain out of every single possible scenario is exhausting and scary. The not knowing, trying to connect the dots that may or may not exist, creating lines to read in between, to maybe figure something out is all-consuming. But when someone is missing, your mind is constantly going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Unfortunately, investigators had exhausted all of their leads from Finnegan's, so they had to move elsewhere. Going from business to business in the area asking for any and all camera footage, they finally got a lead from a 24-hour Food for Less store. At 1:30 a.m, the camera showed Dalene and a man buying some alcohol in there. It was Jason Gilley, the same man that had told them he had left her at the bar and hadn't seen her since. The police took him in for questioning a second time because now he had been caught in a pretty big lie, but they gave him a chance to come clean.
What time did you get home? At about 1:20, 1:30.
When he confirmed his original story of being home at 1:30 a.m, they showed him the CCTV footage.
We know a lot more of what's going on. Right. Okay? Wait. I left the bar with Dalene to Food for Less.
Jason then suddenly remembered that he had gone to buy some Jaeger with Dalene at Food for Less, but he said he had dropped her back off at Finnegan's before heading home. Detectives could tell there was definitely more to his story, and as they pressed him more, he started getting teary.
Jason, let's make it better. Let's make it better right now. Okay? Did you guys have sex? No. Jason. we had sex and we hung out for a little bit more, and then she said she wanted to go home.
He admitted that they had gone to his house where they had had consensual sex, but he said she was angry after and seemed to regret sleeping with him, so she decided to walk home. He followed her in his car, picked her up and drove her 40 miles south, dropping her off at a random place at her request and then getting gas. He said he felt horrible about his decision, and as the days passed, the more worried he became. Knowing he was seemingly the last person to see her, he had lied to protect himself. The police felt in their guts that Dalene was dead, and they bluntly came out and asked Jason where her body was.
Where are we going to find her body? Help us find her. Help us bring her home. Her family deserves it too. You have a family. She has a family. She deserves it. I know that she does. So let's do anything to her. Jason, don't do this. Please, really.
It was here, just as they felt they might be getting somewhere, Jason asked for a lawyer. Investigators arrested 25-year-old Jason Gilley for kidnapping and holding Dalene against her will. They did not have enough for a murder charge. Jason was denying everything. His mom was adamant that he was innocent, and Jason's family would then say that in fact Dalene was at the house with Jason, but she left alive and well Sunday morning. Another contradiction. Although Jason was now the only suspect in her disappearance, he walked out of custody after prosecutors said there wasn't enough evidence to press charges against him for kidnap. The prosecutor said it doesn't matter how strong your gut is, you have to be able to prove something, so the police needed more. They needed to find Dalene. Once out of jail, Jason said he had basically been caught up in a bad situation, but he was not a bad person. It was wrong place, wrong time, and yes, it looked a certain way, but it didn't mean it was that way.
Gilley told KCRA3 earlier this week that Carlson was at his home in those early morning hours Sunday, but left on her own.
He spoke to the media and said, "It's been a rough few days. I'm trying to recuperate right now. I hope they find her okay. I wish they would find the facts first before they arrest somebody. They've been interrogating my mom, my grandma, everybody. All fingers are pointing at me, I understand. Why would I be charged with kidnapping when I'm totally not that person? I'd never hurt myself or anybody. Everybody that knows me knows that." CCTV from a 7-Eleven showed that at 11 a.m. the following morning, he had topped up the gas in his car. Whilst in the 7-Eleven, he was seen wiping his arms and shirt, and further enhancement on the footage showed he was covered in dirt. They then focused their attention on searching new areas, including parts of the Calaveras River, commonly used as a dumping ground for all kinds of things. This area was particularly muddy and overgrown, and it was just a few blocks from Jason's house.
Stockton police out on the Calaveras River searching for any signs of a woman who disappeared more than a week and a half ago. This is exclusive video from Livecopter 3 HD right over the search. 23-year-old Dalene Carlson hasn't been seen or heard from since August 7th. Police aren't saying at this point what led them to the Calaveras River. The search is taking place just north of the University of Pacific campus. That location just about 2 miles from the Food for Less grocery store where she was last seen, and just 2 blocks from the home of a man who was initially arrested in her disappearance.
25-year-old Jason Kelly, of course, remember, was arrested this week. He was arrested on Monday on charges of false imprisonment and kidnapping. Now, he was released again on Wednesday afternoon, but police say he's still a person of interest. Newly released documents show that police believe Jason Gilley has been lying to them since the first time they questioned him. The documents show that Gilley first told officers he wasn't with Dalene Carlson the night she disappeared. But former boyfriend Jacob Evangelista told police that at 5 Sunday morning, he received a text message. Dalene said she was at Jason's house drinking, but that she would be leaving soon to come to his house. This was the last time Jacob has seen or spoken with Dalene. Gilley later said he and Dalene went to his home, had sex, and then an argument ensued, but he gave her a ride. The report states that Jason got on the Crosstown Freeway and then south on Highway 99 for approximately 40 minutes until stopping at an unknown location where he claims he let Dalene out of the car. And for the first time, we are hearing Dalene's phone send a text message late Sunday morning. At about 11:25 Sunday morning, Gilly's roommate received a text saying Dalene said she was somewhere on Country Club and that her phone was dying. James said he did not know if it was Dalene that was sending these messages, only that they were coming from her phone.
The text message is just that. It's text that come to you, but who's sending that? It could be sent from anybody. Anybody could have had control of that phone and been sending those messages.
The search for Dalene Carlson has now lasted more than 7 weeks. Here's a look back. Dalene was last seen August 7th leaving Finnegan's Pub. Then August 15th, police arrested 25-year-old Jason Gilly, who was seen leaving with Carlson the night she disappeared. 2 days later, Gilly was released after the DA decided not to file criminal charges because of lack of evidence. And then on August 18th, search crews looking for Dalene found a flip-flop that may have belonged to her in the Calaveras River.
Holding out hope, but fearing the worst. The family of a missing woman from Stockton spoke to KCRA 3, giving their perspective about the discovery of a body yesterday in rural San Joaquin County and the chance it is their missing loved one.
2 months after she went missing, a farm worker in a cornfield would find Dalene. Her body was so badly decomposed, it was virtually just her skeleton. She was naked and had been shot 5 times from behind. 1 bullet was to the back of her head, and 2 had hit her in the back. It appeared she was clutching her head as she fell, and it looked like an execution-style killing, with her having been on her knees and facing away from the gun. A black bra was located near her body, and a few days later, her jeans were discovered 6 miles away.
From a missing persons case to a murder mystery.
We have this new at 5. Tonight we now know the body of a woman found this weekend in a San Joaquin County cornfield has been identified as Dalene Carlson. We continue to follow this incoming information in this case out of Stockton.
KCRA 3's Rich Ibarra joins us now from the police department. So Rich, what's next now in this murder investigation?
Well, the identification of Dalene Carlson was made through her dental records, and now investigators will have to see how she was killed and link that with any evidence that may lead to her killer.
Couldn't believe that everything happened the way it did. I thought that she'd turn up somewhere. I'm glad the family can get some closure finally, but wish it was under different circumstances.
Police said that there were huge inconsistencies in Jason's statements, and despite what his grandma said, his alibi had now been picked apart. She would later admit to lying to police to protect him. They also got a call from someone else close to Jason, saying they knew he owned a gun, and sure enough, the casings found at the crime scene matched that very gun. Cell phone tower data put the pair of them together in the area she was found in, and authorities were confident that Jason had been using Dalene's phone to send messages to people after she was dead. Dalene's aunt said, "I can't conceive why someone would do it to somebody who just wanted to be a friend. She wanted people to like her. She loved people. She was a little social magnet, you know. I can't understand why. I honestly think he probably advanced himself, and she probably refused it." The prosecutor added that based off of all of the evidence they had, Jason had convinced Dalene to go to his house after stopping for some alcohol, possibly offering to drive her home after. But when they got to his house, things took a quick and dark turn. They believe he raped her, grabbed his gun, forced her back into his car, and drove her to the cornfield, where he shot her to death. According to text messages, it appeared Jason had spoken to Dalene far more than had been let on. In a 3-day span, he had sent her 200 texts, the final few being on the same day she was last seen. The messages had become more demanding and sexual, including incessant requests for her underwear and photographs of her naked. Dalene would either try to laugh them off and ignore them, or just dismiss him outright. He had a real fixation with her, and authorities said the only possible motive for wanting her dead would be because he sexually assaulted her, and he knew she would report him. The prosecutor said he killed her because he raped her, and he didn't want that information to get out. Why bring the gun to take her home? Because you were never going to take her. What was going through her head when she was being marched in that cornfield? The defendant had Dalene strip and kneel down with her hands behind her head. The prosecution's case was now as strong as it could be, and they had more than 1,000 pages of evidence, and that was without the phone records. Jason Gilly was charged with the kidnap, rape, and murder of Dalene Carlson.
We're learning more information tonight about the death of a Stockton woman and the evidence against the man accused of killing her. KCRA 3's Melinda Meza was in court for the second day of hearings to look at the evidence against Jason Gilley.
Well, court just wrapped up a short time ago on this day 2 of Jason Gilley's preliminary hearing. Now it's up to a judge to decide if there's enough evidence in this case to go to trial. Gilley is accused of murder, rape, and kidnapping of Dalene Carlson.
Because of the special circumstances of the kidnapping and rape, it made him eligible for California's capital punishment. However, back in February 2006, the execution of condemned inmate Michael Morales was temporarily suspended because of his defense claims that California's administration of the lethal injection would subject him to an unnecessary risk of excessive pain, and thus it would violate the 8th Amendment's prohibition of cruel and unusual punishment. Morales had been on death row since 1983 for the kidnap, rape and murder of Terry Winchell. This had flowed into other capital punishment cases, and the DA announced they would not be seeking the death penalty, but they were pushing for life without parole given the level of premeditation. His former best friend Robert Cousin said he was disgusted and had completely written him out of his life. When things in the media were tough, Robert let him stay at his house to get away from it all. Everyone had defended him so much because of how adamant he was that he had nothing to do with it.
23-year-old innocent woman, she didn't deserve to die the way she did, at all.
So why'd you come down here today?
To be honest, I want to watch this step by step. I want to see this man go down for what he did to that girl. I got a 5-year-old daughter at home, so I don't feel any sympathy for him or his family. Anybody who lied for him, anybody that helped him out, I don't feel sorry for you.
How did you know Mr. Gilley?
I've known him for 20 years. He was my best friend. His story's changed so many times. I mean, I don't see how people can sit back and look like, if this guy's innocent, why is he continuing to lie?
Did you have any interaction with him after Dalene went missing?
Yes.
Describe that.
He had been staying in my house for a couple weeks, just to get away from it all. People coming by his house, bugging him. 20 years, I was trying to help him out.
How was his demeanor?
Cool, calm, and collected, really.
He wasn't worried?
That's what the eerie part is. Just cool, calm, and collected.
Wasn't worried?
Not at all. Didn't seem like it at all. Sat him down one night and I asked him, did you have anything to do with it? Do you know what happened to her? And he said, no, I don't know what happened to her.
Has the murder weapon been found?
We have no murder weapon. We're well within our right to charge personal use of a firearm. We have ballistic evidence. We don't have the actual, we have not confirmed that we have the actual weapon itself, but there's ballistic evidence. We have a series of facts, forensic and otherwise, that would allow us to deduce one fact, and that the fact is that she was raped. We'll be put to that test at the preliminary hearing and have a judge determine whether those circumstantial evidence shows that or not.
Do you think anyone else was involved?
No. In my heart of hearts, I think it was just him.
You said you describe yourself as his best friend for all these years.
Yeah.
Are you supporting him now?
No, I can't support something like that. Can't support it. Just seeing all the facts that are starting to come out, can't support something like that.
As soon as Jason was removed from protective custody and placed in general inmate population, he was beaten up that evening by Dalene's cousin. It was now just over 2 years since Dalene went missing, and Jason would go on trial. After numerous different stories, Jason's final one was this. Jason left Finnegan's bar with Dalene. They bought alcohol at the store and he took Dalene back to his house where they slept together. He said Dalene then got angry and wanted to go home, demanding that Jason drive her. He said in the car Dalene called him a piece of garbage and tried to jump out of the moving vehicle, but Jason had locked the doors. He then dropped her off in Modesto, got back on the freeway and went home.
Well, I can tell you it was emotional for the jury today as they heard closing arguments from the prosecution. But the defense attorney says that cell towers could feed 3 different sites and that all the evidence presented today is circumstantial. Gilley's defense attorney says Gilley did not kidnap, rape, or kill Dalene. He says he admits to lying, but he says he lied to cover up his sexual relationship with Dalene because that would have been inappropriate to other friends. Now, the defense will continue its side of its closing arguments tomorrow morning, and then Jason Gilley's fate will be in the hands of the jury.
Jason Gilley was found guilty of kidnapping and murder. The charge of rape ended in a mistrial. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Jason has never admitted what really happened that night. Dalene Carlson had packed up her life to make a huge move. She had big plans and dreams and worked everything out to make sure she fulfilled them. A night out with friends became a horrifying nightmare for the 23-year-old, and one can only imagine how frightening her final moments must have been, begging for her life in a cold, dark field with no one around to hear or help her. Her Aunt Maggie said in an interview, "It's not that you ever get over it. What helps with healing is remembering the good times, remembering everything that was good when she was alive, because what we did get was great." For those of you that like to listen on the go, we now have our episodes in podcast form, and you can now find this via the link in our description box or by searching Truly Criminal Podcast on your podcasting platforms.